right.
Welcome to episode number 54 of the Sundowners Golf Club podcast. I'm Giovanni. I'm your host, and I'm here with my other host, Matt Caldwell. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, buddy. Just hanging out. The kiddos did a little movie night tonight. Popcorn, pizza, candy. Watch a little Netflix movie or something like that.
It's summertime, baby. It's summertime.
We're getting it going, man. We're getting it going. There's a
Summer
slip and slide. The kids don't know the slip and slide exists, but there's been a slip and slide acquired. So,
did you get the one at Costco?
I think Mallory ordered it on Amazon or whatever.
My parents got a slip and slide this last weekend, and it's been a hit. That's where my kiddo. Well, I guess we both went over there this afternoon. Summertime's one of those things. As a parent, it's like both stressful and like stress relieving compared to, you got to go to work, you got to get the kid to school, you got to pick him up from school. So you don't have to do that, but then you're left with a kiddo who just needs to be entertained all day in some fashion or another. So happy for summer though.
I was thinking about it just, coming into this summer, that it's like, man, you get to be an adult, and I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here to other adults, but you just forget about those months now. Like, you've been in, your career for however long. You're like, I don't know what summer is like anymore. Like, you kind of have a memory of the freedom of just having nothing for a couple months.
Yeah.
And so it'd be really easy to forget that your kid's just like sitting around with nothing to do. So
trust me, she does not let me forget. So
yeah,
my daughter.
Mallory's motivated to make sure that we do, something pretty much every week of this summer. So
Yep. Well, I'm just trying to keep her excited for a big hike this weekend. She's a relatively active kid, but the idea of going on a hike isn't like something that she's just screaming at the top of the rooftops to go on. We got her some cool hiking shoes from REI, kind of a cute little hiking outfit. And so she's geared up. The hiking poles, she's excited for it. So
the hiking poles. All right. We're going all out.
Well, we were walking out, and we're going to Kolchak Lake. If anybody on here has done the Kolchak Lake hike, it's a fantastic hike. It's wonderful. And it's not terribly difficult, but she's 10. And so there's going to be probably a couple hours stretch where it's going to be pretty hard for her. So I want to give her as much help as I can.
Nice. I guess I've never done that hike. I'm not a hiker. I'm not a hiker. So I don't know. maybe I would need the hiking poles.
The guy that hates camping doesn't like hiking. We're not surprised.
Yeah, can't we just put a fire in a fire pit that's on like a deck or a patio or something like that? We build houses for a reason.
Yep. Well, gosh, we're getting caught up yet again. I think it's funny. I used to come a lot more prepared for these things, and I guess I was in a position where I didn't have to work to get notes prepared, and I had the mental energy to think about these things all week long. Ever since I came in with this new company, it's just been busy. So if my boss is listening, which I think he's listened before, rest assured that I'm busy at work. Okay, I'm not slacking, which is why we're on like an every other week schedule at this point. But we'll get back in the saddle. Since we last talked, we had the Memorial, which was an awesome tournament. JT Poston ended up beating Ryan Gerard in a playoff. It kind of looked like JT Poston was going to run away with it about halfway through the weekend. But shout out to Ryan Gerard and a few others, starting to scratch and crawl their way back. There was a fun moment during the playoff hole when somebody, right after Ryan Gerard hits the ball, they yelled, "Get in the bunker." And as he's picking up his tee, he goes, "It's not in the bunker, dog." People on socials loved it. Some people on socials hated it. I think I loved it just because that's something we don't get very often. And it's like one of those, especially because it's Ryan Gerard, right? Like, not a lot of guys know Ryan Gerard.
Right.
I don't know Ryan Gerard very well. I know the name and could say he's a pro golfer, but he's not high on my list. And like right out the gate, I'm like, I think I like this guy.
Oh, I loved it, man. I would much rather see that interaction than, I won't say his name. I don't want to bring him up right now. But
We're gonna talk about Rory plenty. Don't worry.
How do you know that's what I was gonna bring up?
Well,
it's fun, man. It's fun. It's not in the bunker, dog. Just move on. Just casually pick up the tee and walk down the fairway, buddy. I love it.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's like the perfect, like truly like the Goldilocks version of like heckling and heckling back. Like
Yeah.
there's really nothing that offensive about somebody saying get in the bunker. Like if it were tennis, I guess, I think that stuff's frowned upon, but it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
And
I
obviously
agree.
he cared just enough to say something back. And what better way to say it than in like a total ultra cocky way? I don't know. It's just perfect. I want more of that.
Yeah, I don't know why this just popped in my head, and this is not golf related, but it's one of my favorite players, got you back deals. Like I think it was late 90s, early 2000s hockey. I forget the NHLer, I'm sorry. But there was a guy in the crowd like yelling at a player that was like down on the ice, got a stick to the face or something like that. And he's like yelling at him through the crack of the glass, just chirping him for a while. And then later, I think the glass broke or the puck went over the glass and hit that fan. And like he was getting tended to. And so the player went back and skated and pointed at him and chirped at him back.
I remember seeing clips of that.
Oh, so good. So good. All time
That
great.
is funny.
And I can't remember any of the names, but anyway, it's good shit. But yeah, Ryan Gerard tripping back. I wish, that's how you did it. It'd be even better if Rory did it.
We're skipping ahead a little bit, but I'm a bit of a staunch hater of Wyndham Clark.
Of course.
But I also think like a good level of chirping back to the fans is exactly what he did at the RBC Canadian. I guess a fan, or he saw a fan with a Jack Hughes jersey, Team USA jersey.
Yeah.
So he puts it on to tee off on one of the holes. That's kind of the perfect kind of like fan interaction we want, right? Get them fired up. They can get mad for irrational reasons. It's non-offensive. I love that stuff out of Wyndham Clark.
I went down a little, Twitter X, whatever, hole, and just the Canadians pretending like their feelings weren't heard by him simply putting on a USA jersey was great. It livened my day. Just, get over it. It was one game, check the scoreboard, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, that one burned you guys. You really didn't like that one at all.
You know what? It should burn them.
It should. They had one of the greatest rosters that's ever been compiled, and they put up an L.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So anyway, shout out to JT Poston. That's another guy, kind of like when Aaron Rye won. Just one of those guys that wins, and there's not a single person who has a bad thing to say about him. And on the contrary, like so many pros go out and say there's just not a more deserving guy. I'll be honest, I'm not a hater of JT Poston, but like it doesn't do much for me. Happy for him that he won the Memorial, but that felt like a tournament we could just move on from. I guess for that sake, we could just quickly look at the leaderboard, because speaking of a couple guys here, as I mentioned, Ryan Gerard lost in the playoff. Wyndham Clark, who's been playing some really good golf, he got a dub at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson, which is a tournament that's changed a lot over the years, it seems. So he's playing some good golf as we lead into the U.S. Open. Recent U.S. Open winner Sam Burns just seems to be like floating on leaderboards for the last, I don't know if he's really been in contention to win, but his name's been around. Tommy Fleetwood, as always. Our guy Alex Fitzpatrick, the undeserving, the swine who weaseled his way, cheated the system to make its way onto the PGA Tour, just racks up another top 10 finish. I think he deserves to be here now.
Top 10, solo 4, a stinker at the PGA Championship, and then a T6 at Memorial, and another top 20 at the Canadian. So what do I know? I don't watch golf.
Yep.
Now,
do I think he belongs? Yes. Am I worried about him in any of these majors? No, not yet, Alex. Not yet. So yeah, just good stuff. Guys are kind of getting ready for it. At the Memorial. Well, I guess before I even talk about this moment, but Scott, there's been a lot of talk about Scotty Scheffler. And it seems like we go through these waves where we're like, are we worried about Scotty? And then you kind of feel nervous to say you are worried about Scotty, because the real answer is like none of us should ever be worried about Scotty. But this is like, it's a weird thing to say, but this is like the worst golf. Like I'm not talking about data. I'm not talking about anything, but just like as a whole, this is like the worst golf he's played in a while.
Yeah.
But he finished his T12 at the Memorial. He was just in a mental pretzel, but he doesn't ever finish outside of like the top 20, it seems, right? So like the worst golf we've ever watched him play. And I'm going to exclude those putting that year where his putting was bad because like that was the only thing wrong. And it just appears that he's just a little bit just struggling mentally a little bit. But he's still just up there, always up there. We'll talk more about him as we talk about the US Open, but the thing that caught everybody's attention was, I believe it was a par 3. Him and Ted Scott were talking about the wind. Scotty hits a 7-iron and it goes right in the pond, short of the green, and he kind of loses it a little bit. And Ted Scott's just kind of walking along and he's like, man, we keep getting the wind wrong. We keep getting the wind wrong. I hit a perfect shot and now we're hitting from a penalty area. And he kept saying
you say Ted Scott was walking along. I think we have to paint the picture better. If my memory serves me right, he was like 12 yards ahead of Scotty. Like, I'm out of here, dude.
Scotty's chasing him like a chihuahua.
Just get back here.
And it was funny because I immediately thought of like the kind of famous rant that Bubba went on. I think it was, gosh, this is forever ago. It's probably like the Dell match play, if I remember right. I don't know, but he just starts lambasting Ted Scott because, of course, Ted used to be on Bubba's bag, and Bubba does not have the best reputation for that kind of stuff, and so it just felt like a big a-hole move at the time. And then this thing, and now we're doing the same exact thing with the same caddy, different golfer, clearly just saying like, Ted, you messed up. That's ultimately what Scotty was saying, but in the nicest Southern way possible by saying we to everything.
Yeah.
And I told you, we were texting about it. I was like, I think for everything that we know about Scotty and because of who Scotty is and seems to be, there's nothing wrong with this. I see zero things wrong with how he interacts with his caddy. It reminded me of how, like, I think you and I would interact if I was your caddy or you were my caddy.
Yeah.
Like, we'd get upset at each other, but we're also really close friends. So we'd probably let it loose a little more than if it were not my buddy. Right.
Right. Shoot. I mean, I tease you still about a second shot I hit at Wine Valley. I still give you crap for that one.
Yep.
Still to this day. So no, I agreed. Is when you pointed it. I don't remember who said that they how close they truly are, but I mean that matters. And I think if there's anybody out there that was like, oh, that was completely inappropriate, Scotty should feel bad, Scott should drop his bag and all this stuff. I don't know how competitive you've ever been. And I don't usually like going there, but I think it's a perception that if you haven't been competitive in any way, in emotion or just how high, those RPMs are going, that's just kind of what's going to happen, and it's fine. And there's not going to be any, issues or like that moving forward between those two ever. That's just the way it is. I don't know.
I think one key point there is I didn't actually see anybody saying that was inappropriate. And I think that's kind of a testament to like what you're saying, right? It's like, that's a special relationship. I mean, regardless of how calm, cool, collected Scotty looks, like he's still competing at the highest level and wants to win all these tournaments. And, sometimes you're bound to just kind of snap. And that's hardly snapping what he did, right? That's just, I'd say it was almost more like just whining out loud a little bit.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we're obviously nowhere near the stratosphere Scotty Scheffler is, but I know I've hit those shots where I feel like I analyzed everything exactly as I should. I give thought to the club I'm going to hit. I give thought to where I'm aiming, and I hit the exact shot that I expected. And the result that I get is nowhere near what I intended. And like, I have like a realm of reality of a missed shot, but it's like when you think you did everything right, even as an amateur, like I've whined like that back to the cart or grabbing my bag or whatever, and I'm not competing as a professional. So yeah, man. And no, I don't think I saw anybody complaining, but I think that's a testament to golf fans truly understanding the relationship those two have. I think Scotty has a pretty good reputation, unlike Bubba, where he kind of had a tarnished one and everybody was just kind of over his crap.
Yeah.
The time that happened.
I always thought it'd be funny if I were on tour. It's a hard zone to get in here, even like conceptually, but I've always pictured if I were on tour, I would want to have like my best buddy on the bag. And then like, how would I interact with my best buddy? Like how would me and you interact on the golf course? I'd probably be telling you to like shut up a bunch, or like just giving jabs throughout the round. And like if Mike's picked those up, like I would probably have a terrible reputation, but like it would always be, I don't know, my humor, right? It's like just like totally either self-deprecating or like Matt deprecating. And it's just funny, just guys being guys. But I just wonder like how that would be viewed in the public eye. I remember when Damon was my caddy at that PNGA tournament in Sylvie's, and we were having a blast. I was trying to get locked in, especially the first 2 days, but like I can't help it. He's my buddy, so like we were just like busting each other's balls and laughing and joking, or I would just kind of ignore him when he'd say something. I'd be like, nah, I'm just gonna do it. I was originally gonna do it, and we'd start laughing it off. You don't see a lot of those, even out of the guys that are like buddies, in that relationship.
We pointed out that I live on a golf course, and one of the US Open local qualifiers came through here a few weeks back, and a buddy of mine that I've golfed with here in town was in, towards the back of the day, and so I was able to see him tee off, and I brought some waters over to him and his caddy, and he was over just kind of, he grabbed a club and he was ready to tee off, and I was talking to his caddy, and I was like, how's it looking? I know his score, but like, what does the game look like, right? Because you could be hitting it well and not score. And he's like, he's holding the bag and he's like, this club's not working. This club's going left. This one's going right. And it just like went through the bag. And the player that he's caddying for is only standing 4 feet away. He's hearing every word this caddy is saying.
He's like, I'm right here. I can hear you.
He's just roasting the shit out of him. And there's other golfers there, so I'm trying not to like fall on the ground laughing. But that was a moment I was like, I'd never met the guy caddying for him. And so the first thought I had was, these two know each other really well, because Jesus Christ, that was brutal.
See, I feel like that's the kind of stuff that like, I know at some point you asked if I would caddy for you at the, I think it was going to be at the Mid-Am this year. You were talking about maybe playing in it. And that's exactly how it would be, right? Like I'll essentially, I would give you what you need, and then I would feel for like the middle ground, right? Like I'll start to learn when I can kind of give you little jabs or try to hype you up or try to bring you down, just in the sake of just having a good time together,
Yeah. I think that's what it's about. I think honestly, I think the better caddy player relationships, I think that's why they're so good, is it's not just a job. It's not just a bag that they're carrying, it's, there's a relationship there, right? Like Rory's never dropping his caddy. Scotty's probably never dropping Ted Scott. Like there's just these certain relationships that that the relationship is beyond just a boss, employee situation. So
I think so much of that, I'm sure, depends on the golfer, but like the way I would look at it is, these guys are on the road or in the air nonstop for 40 weeks out of the year, and I think it would get kind of hard and lonely if you're just truly the boss, right? And you're kind of lugging your caddy around. Like no better person to do all that with than one of your buddies, right? Kind of the way Rory's been doing it. It's his childhood best friend, which is interesting because, and this is a testament to the fact that these guys are just living in a different universe than we are in terms of, skill, how good they are at golf, kind of their locked in competitive mentality. But you don't really see a lot of any of that, coming through the screen when you get these guys that are buddies on the bag. Max Homa with Joe Griner on the bag for all those years. Like you might see it in practice rounds, but when they're working, it's business, strictly business.
Yeah, that's true.
Wait, why don't we zip over to the RBC Canadian Open?
Okay.
We talked a little bit about Wyndham Clark. This was a tournament this year that I really didn't tune in much to this one. I think in large part to it being, kicking off summer. We had a busy weekend on my side of the family. We had my sister coming in from Texas. She's pregnant with her kids, and my other sister is pregnant. And so we had 2 baby showers. We did a little golfing with all the young nephews. Yeah, so we were just kind of bouncing all around different houses, barbecues, whatever. And which is kind of a bummer because this is a tournament I usually always lock into, mainly because I'm excited for the US Open, but missed it this time. Bud Cauley gets a win. It's kind of a cool story from Bud Cauley. He was a guy that had a pretty major accident. I think it was 2024. Got really banged up, had to have a bunch of surgeries, and was away from the game of golf for a long, long time. Finally gets his first win in pretty, I don't know, kind of commanding fashion. Matt Fitzpatrick finished 2 strokes behind him at 15. Victor Hovland, who's a name that's like popping up here and there, popping up, goes away, popping up, goes away. He finished in solo 3rd. And then we had kind of a logjam of some horses, some non-horses. We had, I'm losing my own game of trying to name these players. Bryce Garnett. We had Jimmy Stanger. Golly, sorry for that one. Jackson Suber, who we'll probably talk a little bit about. Yella Maraju. Okay, this guy's been buzzing ever since the Players. Ryan Fox, Tommy Fleetwood again. Jacob Bridgman, a guy we haven't talked about in a long time. And then I wanted to go this far down because we had Wyndham Clark finish T11. So that's a guy that coming into a U.S. Open. I know I said it a little bit ago, but he won one of these not too long ago, and he's in awesome form right now.
Yeah.
What do you got?
What is that? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. His last 9 tournaments back to the Masters. He missed the cut of the PGA, but outside of that, it's all top 25s and the win at the Byron Nelson.
Yeah.
So he's playing pretty good golf. And yeah, I mean, if he's playing well, you can't not talk about him, even at a major.
I think golf, almost more than a lot of other sports, is all about, peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
Some guys are better at it than others. I think some guys are better at kind of designing it that way than others. But like one example is Cam Young. Cam Young was like number 2 player on the planet. A month and a half ago.
Yeah.
He's been pretty stinking quiet. So we'll see this coming week. As we've been talking about US Open, the 3rd major of the year, coming up this weekend at Shinnecock in Long Island. But before we fully get there, I do want to highlight the longest day in golf is now behind us. That's the US Open qualifiers. I did, just because we did this last year, I did want to highlight and just go through the folks that did qualify and maybe just touch on a few that missed US Open qualifier, just some notable players. So feel free to stop me, throw a hand up, whatever you want. We're going to go through this. So coming out of Ohio Springfield, the qualifiers are Neil Shipley, Zach Blair, Dylan Wu, Billy Horschel, and Nick Hardy. All names that I think we've all heard before or seen on a leaderboard. Notable players missing at that qualifier: Brant Snedeker, Tony Finau, and Cam Davis.
Maybe I'm missing something. Isn't Horschel a Florida guy? He went to University of Florida. Doesn't he live in Florida?
Yeah, but I'm sure this was Ohio Springfield. This tends to be like one of the most like the strongest field because they're coming off of the Memorial.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I think a lot of guys end up doing that.
I was surprised to see him in Ohio. Like Neil Shipley, I knew, right? He went to Ohio State, so I wasn't surprised to see him up there. But I was surprised, I guess, to see Horschel up in Ohio.
I'm totally guessing here, but I know Billy Horschel's won the Memorial. He's on like some sort of board with the PGA Tour. He's very well loved there. Him and Jack Nicklaus have a relationship, so I'm assuming he went to the Memorial. Regardless of his status, got in because he's a past winner, and then just zipped over to the Ohio Springfield tournament. But I'm with you. He's the Florida guy. He's the Florida Gator guy.
Yeah, I've been to one professional tournament in person, and Billy Horschel won it.
Really? Oh, you know what? I think I remember you telling me that.
Yep.
Okay, so qualifiers in Florida. It's interesting. Some of these guys don't have first names, so I apologize to anybody that's not getting properly shouted out here. But Florida, those that qualified, Ben Silverman, and then 3 amateurs. Last name Puebla, not familiar. I'm sorry. Ryder Cohen, and last name Russell. Is this Miles Russell?
In Florida?
Yeah. Is that Miles Russell? Was he has Charlie Woods on the bag?
He did.
Okay.
Yeah, for that tournament, he did.
That's awesome. I wonder if he's going to have him on the bag at all at the U.S. Open.
Nope, I looked it up. He dropped it. He dropped Charlie in favor for his swing coach, who's caddied for him in the past to include all of his his PGA Tour appearance and Corn Ferry Tour runs. So
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the coach's name, but no, he dropped Charlie.
That makes sense. Honestly, it truly, and I don't even mean this in like a good or bad or anything way, but like, I feel like that'd be a pretty big distraction for Miles Russell bringing Charlie Woods as a caddy to a major.
I would have been shocked if Charlie Woods is on the bag for that tournament.
Yeah. Notable players to miss: Matt Kuchar, Matthew Pavon, Christian Bezadenhout, Luke Clanton. Hate to see that. And Luke Poulter. So I believe that's Ian Poulter's son, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, moving up to Canada, we got Emiliano Grillo, Alejandro Tosti, Marcelo Rozo, William Mao, John Perry, Max McGreevy. Big notable missing player here, Max Homa. You hate to see it. Matt Wallace, Garrick Higo, a little late to the punch, and Seamus Power.
Seamus
Power. Okay, let's see. Qualifiers in Maryland. We had Jackson Suber, Ben Coles, amateur Logan Riley, and Jake Solon. Notable players to miss: Blades Brown, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Carl Phillips. Ohio Columbus, Davis Thompson, JB Holmes. I have not heard of a JB Holmes sighting in a long time. Not since it was released that he was playing a charity scramble under like a different alias, or by I think it was by his real name. Do you remember this? Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna go through this, and then I'm gonna let you take the mic. I'm gonna look it up. Okay, this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. Oh, that's funny. All right, back to the amateurs. Vaughn Harbor and then Arnie Svensson. Notable players to miss there: Lucas Glover, Jonathan Vegas, Bud Cauley, who I don't think has to worry about it now, Austin Eckroat, Denny McCarthy, and Eric Van Rooyen. North Carolina qualifiers: amateur Jackson Ormond, Carl Yuan, Jackson Van Paterie, Brandon Wook, and Cole Hammer. Notable players to miss the cut: Aaron Wise. I'd say that's notable for us on this here podcast, as we talked about him on here. Ryo Ishikawa, Bill Haas, and Troy Merritt. I have also not heard Troy Merritt's name in eons. Okay, New York: Kevin Roy, Max Grazerman, Ben James, and James Nicholas. James Nicholas is the Corn Ferry guy who has like a bazillion followers, and he'll break down his cost of travel and earnings and all that stuff. It's kind of cool. Check him out if you haven't already. The notable players to miss the cut: Matt Jones. Okay, we're gonna keep rolling. Georgia. Oh, you want to stop?
So I got the JB Holmes story. I don't know how I didn't see this, but I missed this. So this is off of golfdigest.com. There was a tweet first by at Beating the Bookie. It says, this past weekend in Tennessee, JB Holmes played in a 2-day 6-man scramble tourney under John Bradley for $30,000 as a claimed 8 handicap. Midway through the second day, when they found out who he was and the team was disqualified. LMAO, end quote. Yeah, so I guess there's some pushback. I guess it says allegedly took place at a scramble, and under the alias John Bradley in an attempt to con local golfers out of tens of thousands of dollars. So, is it really JB Holmes? He says, I did play a scramble under my real name, John Bradley. It was bring your best team, and we had the best team. So I think there might be some disagreements on what the function of the tournament actually looked like, because it's hard to believe that a pro golfer would be playing with an 8 handicap unless the guys he was playing with's handicaps were so unbelievably terrible that their combined handicap was still 8.
Now, but if anybody can do it, though, it's going to be JB Holmes.
I guess so, but that's wild. Like, I don't know how, like, dude, I'm so bad at this. And I readily admit that, like, my name to face recognition or face to name recognition, if I'm walking around in the airport, for pro golfers is, I mean, probably better than your average person, but I don't think I'm very good at it. Like, I know the name before I would say that's who that is. I feel like if I saw JB Holmes in person swing a golf club, I go, that guy's built different. I don't know who that guy is, but that guy knows what he's doing. And if he tried to tell me he was an 8 handicap, I'd say bullshit.
Now,
Bullshit.
I'll say he does have a bit of a wonky swing. Obviously, when you watch a ball fly, I mean, it's a different story, but he does have a bit of a wonky swing. Anyhow, just JB Holmes going under John Bradley. He's like, hey, that's my real name. All right. Okay. I just went by my real name. I also think the craziest part of that story is that anybody on planet Earth is playing a 6-man scramble. Like, that's just bananas.
Yeah, I'm watching it swing again, man. I'll be honest. I'm still seeing, if I see that thing in person, I'm going, that guy's not an 8 handicap.
No, I agree. It's like, it's one thing to like see a weird swing. It's another thing to watch a ball fly of a professional golfer who's won on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
So,
all right, back to you.
We're going to move on to Georgia. We got a Georgia boy himself, a couple of them, Keith Mitchell, Chris Kirk, Jake Peacock, Robbie Higgins, and amateur Chase Keys. Notable players to miss the cut: Aldrich Potgieter, Steven Jaeger, Jason Duffner, and Patton Kazire. A lot of Georgia boys in that conversation. Down in California, had another good amateur showing here. Taylor Montgomery, amateur Eric Lee, amateur Matthew Robles, and amateur Merrick Fleming. Jeff Ogilvie was a notable player to miss. Mr. Michael Block himself, and Stuart Hagestad, the amateur, the king of all amateurs. Down in Oregon, this is a fun one. Grayson Leach and my guy Andrew Putnam, Washington State boy. On the list of notable players to miss is Andrew Putnam's own brother, Michael Putnam. It says here, for noteworthy, Andrew Putnam won on Tuesday morning with a par on the 9th playoff hole over Spencer Tibbetts. So he played a long golf, longest day of golf Monday.
That is a long day.
So that's what we got from the United States Open qualifiers. Forgive me, I don't have a list of the England, Japan, and Dallas. I think they either would have happened earlier, and they're not on this updated list here. So that's what we got. That's as far as we'll go. We got to give out some flowers to the guys who are grinding it out on those Monday qualifiers.
Yeah.
So Matt, why don't you take us away? Kick us off here with the U.S. Open happening in Shinnecock. We're told is a very historic site. Admittedly, it's not a place that I can picture, you know, that famous hole or like the certain moments from Shinnecock. But what do you got? Kick us off.
So, I mean, the first thought I have, recent memory of Shinnecock, obviously, is Phil Mickelson putting back up the hill after he misses putt long. And, you know, you and I kind of got into a little back and forth a few weeks back about, course setup and this and that. And here we are. We have arrived at the U.S. Open week. And if you go back in U.S. Open history and look at the winning scores at the top, I think what I looked up was the top 4 or top 5, highest scores to win it. 3 of those U.S. Opens are at Shinnecock. 3 of them. So this course plays tough. And if there's any weather at all, we're not seeing a bunch of low scores. This is going to be one that I think best case scenario, somebody's at 4 under maybe to win it. I don't think it's going to be any better than that. I mean, Brooks Koepka, if I remember right, won at +1 in 2018, last time they were at Shinnecock. I have told you before that I don't really care which type of golf we're going to watch in a weekend, right? If it's going to be super low scoring or if it's going to be high scoring. I don't care in the sense of if that's what it is, that's what it is. But I do enjoy watching a course break professional players. Like, do I get bummed out if they're all going low? No. But I do like watching guys play when the margin of error is teeny tiny. You hit what you think is a really good shot and you went long, 36 inches, and now you're sliding off the back of the green, and now you're going to have to chip back up. And there's a breeze, at your back. Like, this is going to be fun. I like this. This is going to be good. This is what the US Open is about. And I'm really looking forward to it. If I had to put money, we're not a betting podcast, but if I had to put money down, I would confidently put it down as the winner is going to be something like 2 under at best. That's going to be.
So I'm gonna add to your kind of historic Shinnecock stats here. So in the 5 previous U.S. Opens at Shinnecock, dating back to 1896, only 3 golfers have finished with scores under par. Raymond Floyd finished 1 under, and he was the oldest U.S. Open champion in 1986. Corey Pavin shot even par in 95, and Retief Goosen shot 4 under. Phil Mickelson shot 2 under, but they were the only ones to do so under par that year. And then, as you mentioned, Brooks Koepka 1 over par back when he won it. First ever to go back-to-back since Curtis Strange.
If I'm not mistaken, I might be having the names wrong, but I believe all of the winners are within 1 stroke, with the exception of Pavin. I think he won by 2. So it's really close also. So not only is the scoring tough, there's not a lot of birdies out there, but it's a squish leaderboard, something Rory doesn't like. We don't like that.
So I think it's kind of funny because you said the winner might be at -2, but I think what's crazy about the stat we're talking about now is we're talking about golfers, like individual golfers in the last 5 years to finish under par, not just the winner. So
Right.
like even if the winner is under par, like I think what did Bryson finish at Winged Foot? I know he was under par, but I believe he was the only one under par for the week. And I think what's fun about that, because we've talked a lot about how we're like, par kind of doesn't matter, right? It's the same reason why you say if they're super low numbers, like that doesn't change your viewing experience, right? The winner's still the winner. But it does seem like at the US Open, par becomes relevant in a way that's just fun and enjoyable to watch because of what you said, right? It's like we're not used to seeing these guys struggle to reach par.
It's the perception of the success versus lost stroke, right? Like when you're at a US Open that is going to be playing tough, as opposed to not one, the not US Open tournaments, it's, man, that's a birdie hole and I didn't get a birdie there. Like now you're bummed you didn't birdie it. When in reality, your birdies should be, you should be thanking your birdies when they come. We're at a US Open, there's tough holes where there's birdieable holes and you get in there with a par and you're like, nice.
Yeah. It's like that's really not so bad over the course of 4 days. Right. Just a fact check myself. Bryson finished 6 under, and he was the only player to break par that week. So I think I'm with you. I almost like, just based on what we're seeing early in the week already at Winged Foot with really high winds, just like we see at every US Open. We get the clips of how long the rough is. We get the clips of how fast the greens are and all that crazy stuff. It does seem like by the time we get to the weekend, like it's not as bad as we all think. But based on what we're seeing, it's been dry there. It's super windy. These greens are going to be baked, hopefully. So I do think we're going to be hovering around par for this tournament. One thing about Shinnecock, by all accounts, that I've just been trying to like gather as much as I can on Winged Foot. But what I like about what I'm hearing with Winged Foot is, or sorry, I keep saying Winged Foot, Shinnecock. Yeah. What I'm hearing about Shinnecock is it's kind of the opposite of Winged Foot, right? Winged Foot was like obnoxiously narrow fairways, like so much so that the holes just looked strange, right? There's a natural border with trees, and the fairways were like 40 yards on either side away from that tree line. So they artificially narrowed the fairway so much and grew the rough up super long. And if we're going to break down my enjoyment of golf, I think that's like the least enjoyable version. Whereas Shinnecock has like super wide fairways. And so it's like, but being in the fairway doesn't necessarily mean it's a good tee shot. And so I do think it kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It seems like the penalty for missing the fairway is adequate, and hitting the fairway is not necessarily a reward, right? And so I think it makes for a little bit more tactful golf that we get to watch, and also we get to watch a tournament that's probably going to hover around par. It's kind of the perfect setup for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think and to the fairway point, the fairways are pretty wide, but a lot of them are sloped and angled to get you down into a spot that you don't want to be if you land in the wrong place in the fairway. So just touching down in the short grass isn't necessarily mean you hit a good shot or put the ball where you wanted it. Because the green complexes and everything around them are tough, right? Like the closer you get, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. The tee shots aren't as crazy, but that second shot and where you're at could make for some tough golf. The weather doesn't look too bad. I'm looking at it right now. Thunderstorms in the afternoon on Thursday, windy all day Friday. So it looks like once we get to the cut, we should have some pretty good weather. So the whole field will get to deal with weather Thursday, Friday is what it looks like.
Yep.
So
now hopefully the rain doesn't soften it up too much. But we'll see. I actually imagine the USGA doesn't want a repeat of some previous Shinnecock US Opens. We were talking about it before we went live here, but the very, very famous Shinnecock Phil Mickelson moment where he misses a putt. It looks like it's going to roll all the way off the green, and he just kind of jaunts over there and hits it up back onto the actually almost hits it in the hole on his way back. That was the talk. That was back in that day, man. That was about as spicy as like golf journalism got, was that moment. It was like it was like the equivalent of him like murdering somebody. And now I feel like if that happened now, sure, we'd be, screaming and grabbing our pitchforks, but it'd be nothing compared to this kind of what we've seen in golf journalism with Live and what's going on with Live, what's not going on with Live, and all sorts of stuff. I almost miss those days.
I'm watching the putt again from Phil, and I'm going to be honest with you. A couple things are true. One, while he's looking over that putt, he's plus 10.
Yeah.
He's plus 10. The leader, who hasn't teed off yet on Saturday, is DJ at -4. Scott Piercy and Hoffman are even at T2, and then Fleetwood, Stenson, and Rose are T4 at +1. So they're getting the beans that week. And then on top of it, Phil hits a terrible putt. It's so bad. I mean, you just watch it. You're like, the moment it comes off the club face, oh, that's gone. That's Pat. Even if it wasn't an extreme downhill on a green that's stimping at 13.5, like it was a bad putt.
Yeah, he missed by a cup and a half. I'm actually gonna play it here really quick.
In the interview, he's kind of laughing too. He's just kind of like, look, here's the thing, man. I'm playing terrible.
so speaking of the interview, I'm going to pause it here. So he's got Curtis Strange interviewing right after this, and the look on his face is like he looks so mad. It's like he's just stomping on the graves of the past great ones. Look at that face. He's not happy. If I remember right, in typical Phil fashion, he was like he tried to claim that he was like aware of the rule and like it was like a good strategy, which we're like, come on, man. It's okay to say, guys, I'm 14 strokes off the lead. I have 6 holes left, and I just want to get out of here.
Yeah, he said in that interview, he says, look, I don't. This wasn't any disrespect to anybody, but like I didn't have any interest in going back and forth. So I hit the ball. I took the 2-stroke penalty, and I made another putt to get out of there. Like,
It's
leave me
kind
alone.
of what's kind of funny about that is I don't know that I'll endorse this move, but like that right there is what the rules are for, right? I don't think there was ever a point in Phil's mind before, during, or after that he was trying to like claim that he didn't deserve those strokes, right? Like, just give me the penalty, right?
Well, I mean, we didn't even plan on talking about it in this way, but I'm going to bring it up because you kind of said something that unearthed something. And if the rules that involve a penalty could potentially benefit you and make your life easier, then you should take that penalty, right? Like, there's the classic, you make a putt, you miss the cup, it goes past and falls down into the bunker. You can take an unplayable and go back to where you putt to put yourself into the bunker. Like, it's a stroke penalty, right? You're replaying this shot, but you can do it because in your mind you go, there's zero chance that I'm going to do any better out of this bunker back onto the green and get a better score. I'd be way better off just taking the penalty to put the ball back to where I started and two putt from here than try to get out of this bunker and potentially be another 4 or 5 strokes out of the cup before I'm in the cup. And I think this is a perfect example of that. Is he's like, look, if I go back down that hill all the way, I'm another 3 strokes away. I'm just going to take my medicine and guarantee that that's the max strokes that I'm going to see here. And we'll move on, get to the next tee box. Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. I remember at the time, it was, like you said, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Maybe it's 2026 now and a lot in golf has happened since then, but gosh, this seems like a nothing burger. Like, if it came up today, I'd just be like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Greens are fast. You're playing terrible. Just get the penalty, get to the next tee box, man. You're not making the cut, or you're not
It
winning the tournament, Like, who cares?
it is so funny to try to picture what would happen if somebody did that again. It is, I wouldn't call it a nothing burger per se, but like, I know I would kind of move on from it. And I think I remember when it happened and just kind of feeling like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What are people saying about it? This would be one that I just wouldn't care what people are saying about it. It's like just kind of watching a roller coaster, go on. And you're like, oh, this is kind of cool and exciting. All right, what's next? But back to the penalty thing. Excuse me. I think I'm with you, right? You see this stuff all the time with it's not quite the same comparison, but like, these guys use the rules to their advantage all the time, right? If they're taking a free drop, if they can take a free drop that's going to put a sprinkler head in their stance, they're going to do that to get it in a more advantageous position, right? I don't know that I really have a problem with any of that in the grand scheme of things. And I think we also know when the guys, like which guys they are, both on tour and like in our golf group or whatever, like we know the guys that are doing it in a way that's a little sketchy, right? So in this case, I don't necessarily, who knows? It's Phil. Phil was like Bryson before Bryson was Bryson. And so in theory, maybe he was just crunching the numbers like in that moment, like, you know what? I'm just going to bump this thing back and play and take the 2-stroke penalty. Who knows? But I'll be honest. I think we'll see. I don't know that we'll see that exact same thing, but I bet you people are going to be thinking about it on the end of the day Friday when they're not going to make the cut and they're watching that ball go down the hill and they're thinking, should I do what Phil did here?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it makes sense to me. I don't know. I guess I stand by the nothing burger now. Like, you kind of just touched it again. Is it's if the penalty is going to benefit you in the long run, despite the penalty, like, just do it. You're allowed to do these things within the bounds of the game, so long as you're not disqualified. If that's part of the taking the medicine, yeah, then just do it. I don't know. Maybe a lot more has happened, especially with Phil Mickelson recently, where I'm like, whoa, he hit the ball before it stopped rolling.
Yeah, that's it's a precursor to some other things, which we'll get to. Now, before we do that, which I do want to, I'm just going to quickly go through DraftKings odds for outright winner. I don't know that there's a lot of shockers in here, but I'm just going to go through some names and we can take some breaks and talk about it. Okay. So, to no surprise to anybody, Scotty Scheffler plus 465. Now, from a betting standpoint, before we get too far, does that mean how does that, what does that mean? If I bet $100, I win 465. Is that how that works?
Ask the question again.
So Scotty's odds for outright winner plus 465. What exactly does that mean from the money?
If you're plus 465, that means to win $100, you have to bet $465.
Are you? Oh no, I think you have.
If I have it flipped around?
Yeah, you have that flipped around because his top 10 is minus 182. So I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. So yeah, if you bet $100, you'll win 465.
Okay.
That's the flip. So plus or minus, the number is always 100 is like the base.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So up next, Rory McIlroy 970, John Rahm 1050, Xander 1700. That's everybody under 2,000 with odds to win. Any shockers there?
No.
Okay. Me neither. A guy that we mentioned earlier, Cam Young, is at plus 2050. Matt Fitzpatrick, 2150. Tommy Fleetwood, 2400. Ludwig, 26. Bryson DeChambeau, 29. I think maybe the only, I won't call it a shocker, but I just want to put a highlighter on Cam Young's name. You know, he is top 5 favorites to win, and he's been awfully quiet. So I'm just kind of curious to see how he stands up to that.
Yeah, I mean, I like going off after you talk about the betting odds, throwing in the data golf odds. Not too much different. I mean, Scotty's percentage, his course fit, baseline plus course history plus course fit. He's a 12% win favorite. Making the cut, 87%, top 5, 34%. So they're pretty certain he's going to be very well in the mix.
Yeah.
The next closest to win is Rory at 5.8. Everybody else is kind of close to each other, right? So Rory is 5.8, Xander 4.8, John, Tommy, Matt, all in the 4s, Ludwig, Cam in the 3s. So that's kind of your group that Data Golf is saying is Scotty, Rory, Xander, John, Tommy, and Matt Fitzpatrick. Those are kind of the guys. And then the outsiders a little bit are Ludwig and Cameron Young. I do have to eat a little bit of crow here. I said that I thought that Aaron Rai would
I'm so glad you brought this up. I was just about to mention
high on the list, and his to win it is 0.8%. Mind you, there's quite a steep drop off, right? So he's not that far off of anybody outside of the top, 10.
Now, what is this metric you're talking about?
This is the course fit from Data Golf. So they take how the player's strengths and weaknesses based on what the course typically is doing. They're confident he's going to make the cut, 63.7%. And he's a 23.2% top 20. I mean, if I was playing in the US Open and you gave me a 23.2% top 20, I'd be feeling pretty good about myself. 11.1 to top 10 and 5.2 to top 5. So he's not in the top 10. I was wrong. Whatever.
So Aaron Rai, I was control effing Aaron Rai here. So his odds for outright winner is plus 10,500. His top 10 including ties is plus 610. So I know they're not exactly the same, but Aaron Rai is as close to odds to get a top 10 as Scotty is to be an outright winner. He's closer to Scotty to do that than Rory is to get an outright winner. So this is not a shade thing at Aaron Rai. We talked about it after the PGA Championship. I think my specific question to you was, now that we saw what we saw, do we think he stands a chance at the US Open? If I remember right, I think we both agreed. I don't know that he's the guy for a win, but I think we both agreed that for sure a make cut. Wouldn't be surprised with a top 20 or a top 10 out of Aaron Rai.
Yeah, similar to you, his Scotty Scheffler's top 5 percentage is 34%. Aaron Rai's top 20 odds are 23%. So Data Golf says Scotty Scheffler is going to be in the top 5, much more likely than Aaron Rai cracks the top 20. Yikes.
Honestly, I think Scotty's one of those guys that's like unfair for that comparison anyway, right? Just because Scotty is, his floor is like good professional golf. And then like his B game is great professional golf. And when he is showing up and all dialed in on all cylinders, it's like not even fair.
Yeah. He's too good.
Yep. So let's see, just really quick, Bud Cauley, who just coming off of a win, has better odds than Aaron Rai. Just another group of names here. Alex Fitzpatrick has better odds to be an outright winner than Aaron Rai. Joaquin Niemann, I forget about Joaquin Niemann all the time. Speaking of Phil Mickelson, he went on Twitter and said that Joaquin Niemann is the -- player in the world, and the Data Golf would show it if Liv was getting data golf points at the time. He is plus 7,200. Other notables, P. Reed plus 4,900, Chris Gotterup plus 4,600, and then Wyndham Clark plus 3,800. I don't bet. I don't know that I'll ever be a betting guy, but I like Wyndham Clark this week a lot, just based on his recent play and the fact that he's won one of these before down at LA Country Club.
Do I take a Bryson flyer, or do I bail on Bryson? I feel like this would be the exact time where I go, Bryson's out. I'm done betting on Bryson. I'm tired of him. He made some equipment changes, a driver change I saw. I guess a little bit of me wouldn't be shocked if Bryson's in the mix. I think he's still one of the best golfers on the planet, and he's just going through something. I think this equipment tampering he's going through, I don't think the outcomes are quite what he expected. You know what I mean? Like, he's putting a lot of effort into getting certain outcomes in the equipment that he's designing and having them conforming. But the reality is the manufacturers themselves, and I know he's using manufacturers, but the point is like their stuff, that their bread and butter, the stuff that they're getting out to the touring pros and to just the general public. I mean, those pieces of equipment have gone through their paces with hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of shots at the range to dial in, the weight and where the sweet spot is and all these things. And I just don't know if there's enough reps for Bryson and his equipment. And I don't know. I think that there's too much tampering happening for him. I think he just needs to go back to whatever the factory has given him and just get back to playing good golf. So I don't know. That's my Bryson take.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm ready to like get off if we're talking about stock. I don't think I'm selling it. I don't know if I'm buying it either, but it seems like, we talked about his recent performance, specifically at the Masters. He seemed a little disheveled. I don't think you could make an argument that he's like at top talent, not the top 5 best player in the world. I still think he is. It just seems like he's kind of just out of it, kind of in his head. I don't know what it is, but I'm not ready to say he can't win another one of these things. And I think it's going to take him winning another one to kind of answer that question, right?
Right.
Especially with the kind of the uncertainty with Liv and what that looks like moving forward, and what does it look like seeing him on PGA Tour? Who knows? I think that's a topic for another day, but I'm not ruling him out. That's for sure.
That's fair.
Okay, so Matt, we're coming up on the hour point. I do want to talk about some recent events. But we've talked a lot about Phil this episode, but do you want to kind of give us the 10,000 foot level? And maybe that's all we have on this, but there were some recent reports of Phil Mickelson.
Yeah. So reports, I think it was early, what day is it? Today's Monday. So I think it was like midweek last week.
It's Thursday morning that I heard about it.
Thursday. Okay. That Phil Mickelson had been accused of some inappropriate touching with a staff member at his country club that he's been a member at for quite a while. And you and I kind of had a differing of reading of this thing, but anyway, there was something that happened. He was accused of having some inappropriate touching of one of the staff members. She pushed back, and he went out and played some golf. She reported it, and there was an investigation. The investigation ruled that he had crossed the line and that they no longer wanted him to be a member. And so, when the decision was made, he happened to be on the course. And so they went out and told him, hey, Phil, this is what's going on. You not only need to leave the course, but you're no longer a member here. You're done. And so that was kind of the first wave of information we got, right? There was some inappropriate touching. So we're talking, potential, sexual assault or something of that ilk, short of, I guess, is it sexual assault if it's just like touching something? I don't know the rules or the legal guidelines, but that was the accusation. And a couple of days later, there was a statement from Phil's team saying that there's video recording in the clubhouse, and the incident that everybody's talking about was recorded, and that this inappropriate touching is not what everybody's reporting, right? And that didn't happen. He's hired a couple defamation attorneys that specialize in defamation, and that his plans are to go after anybody who touches this story and claims that he's been doing anything inappropriate. And so that's the information we have at this point. Is he's been removed from the club. We know that for a fact. And the accusation is that it is stemmed from something he did to one of the staff members there at the course. And so at this point, this is your and I's opinion or our takes.
We're saying all of this at risk of Phil chasing us down and
being absolutely lambasted. Yeah.
Yep.
The take I had on this is not one of defending Phil, but it's a curious situation, in my opinion, right? I'm looking at this from 10,000 feet. I'm not a member at this country club, but I would imagine if Phil Mickelson is a member at the country club, it's probably pretty difficult to be a member at. And I would say the stereotype or the feeling that the general public has of institutions that you have to be, a certain level of popularity or financial success to get into, is that they protect their own, right? And so for this thing to happen seemingly so quickly, it makes me think that there's more to the story. If I were to have to paint the picture myself without any other information, and this is something I told you on the phone, is I would suspect that the club is unhappy with how public Phil is and the negative PR that he seemingly gets with his political discourse. Being on Live has kind of been a public negative, I would say, regardless of how you feel about Live on a personal level. I think the most people have a negative viewpoint of Live, and he's on that tour and speaks highly of it. So my guess is that the club itself didn't want Phil around, but there wasn't really anything that they could do. He pays his dues. He earned his way in. He hasn't broken any bylaws. Nothing we can do. We can't just kick him out because we don't like him. It's just, they can't do it. And then this happens. And they're like, oh, finally, we got it. We got our opportunity. Phil, you're gone, dude. You're gone, man. We got you. Do not come back. Do not collect $200. And that was kind of my feeling early on. And I text you when I saw the headline, like Phil's out. I text you, I said, hey, something smells fishy here. This isn't how this goes down in the real world. And again, I'm not defending Phil. If Phil did something inappropriate, he should absolutely be held responsible. Absolutely. You can't be doing whatever you want. But it's just, I also live in the real world and understand that's just not how these things go down. And I said it from the get-go. There's more to this story, and we don't have all the information. And I think Phil saying, hey, there's CCTV video of this incident you guys are talking about, I think is only phase one to us uncovering this whole story. I think there's going to be several layers to this. I just knocked my mic off. I think there's going to be several layers to this thing. And I think it's going to be juicy the whole way down.
I agree. Now, the part where there's more to this story, I think that's like super obvious. And like, it's, you know, even in the initial reports, it was, you know, the club really didn't have much to say about it other than they kicked the guy off mid-round. They didn't just say, hey, get off the course. They kicked him off the course and kicked him out of the club, which is crazy. My initial reaction was like, either it's like so bad what happened that it was like that was warranted, because especially at a private club, I just have a hard time picturing that happening in like a lot of scenarios, bad scenarios, right? Like probably going to wait till he gets off the course, right? Not cause a scene. It's Phil Mickelson at the end of the day, right? He's going to go down as one of the greatest to ever do it. I'm thinking like it's either really bad or whatever he did, even if it wasn't, I'll say that bad. In the grand scheme of things, it was at the somebody on the board's daughter or something, who knows? And again, we really don't even have a clue what it was, but yeah, I'm just picturing, I'm going to speak freely on this, Matt. We talked about like, what could he have done? And I'm just trying to think, like, my example was, did you grab some locker room attendant's butt or something? Don't get me wrong. That's assault, brother. Okay. It ain't right. It's not good. But I'm just picturing like, I have a hard time imagining somebody getting kicked out mid-round, not only kicked off the course, but kicked out of the club mid-round for like people I know that are members of clubs.
Well, I mean, to your defense here is, if it was more than that, simply being kicked out of the country club isn't going to be what you do, right? If it was more than grabbing a butt cheek or something of the ilk, the police are going to be involved. And they haven't even been mentioned in this. No personal lawsuits, nothing criminal, nothing. So what he did was cross the line in the bylaws of the club, and enough that they removed him. And so, to your point, it's something less than criminal, but crossed the line of their bylaws. So it's something in there, right? And every upstanding guy is not going to defend whatever he did, but at the same time, like you just said, is it enough to kick him out of the club? Like, I don't know.
Does the punishment match the crime? And that's what we're dying to find out. Now, in today's golf journalism landscape, and this is what we have Liv to thank for. So thank you to Liv for this, but something changed in golf journalism where it's like tabloid news, man, when this kind of stuff happens. And so I feel confident that the questions that we have about this are going to get answered in some fashion or another. There might be sources, there might not be sources, but that doesn't seem to matter anymore. So I'm excited to see it unfold. It is pretty crazy how strongly Phil came back at this and how quickly he came back at this with, the threats to say, hey, I'm gearing up for it, so come at me. We'll see. Phil has one of those personalities that I think when I found out about this, I was getting off a plane on coming back from Austin, and Matt Hansen had said, all he said was, honestly, not surprised to hear this from Phil. And so I look it up, and sure enough, I kind of had the same feeling. Like, this is Phil at the end of the day. I'm not saying that he's a woman abuser, but it's just, if you don't hear about Phil long enough, you're going to hear about him sooner or later.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're going to keep our finger of the pulse on that one. But I say we wrap it up for the night. I'm excited for this U.S. Open. We've got Father's Day weekend. Always a good weekend for golf. And then before we go, I did want to shout out. I'm wearing this hat. This is from the Butler Pitch and Putt in Austin, Texas. It came highly recommended. Amanda and I were there. I was there for a work trip. Zipped over there after work. It's a little pitch and putt. Truly a pitch and putt. It's not like what you'd expect of a par 3 course. You're hitting off mats on all these holes. It's very much like just like a low key, almost hipster's paradise in a way. College kids running around everywhere. It's like a no shoes, no shirt, no problem kind of place. Awesome time. It was a lot of fun. Highly recommend if anybody's going to be in Austin.
I'm going to be in Austin.
That's right. All right, Matt. Well, hey, let's keep rolling. I think I would love to do a maybe Thursday recap round. We can recap the Thursday round. I don't know that I'll be able to do Friday and Saturday because we're going out of town. But
so let me get this right. You and I will be golfing Thursday night, 4:28 tee time. You want to?
That's right. That's right.
Jump on the mics after. I just want to make sure that's what you're committing to.
Yeah. Well, we'll take that one offline.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk soon.